Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I was working on the game yesterday, boot camp trainer for roughly about maybe 6 hours after work. One of the things was I fixed the name input on the new game, only letters, as only letters, no numbers, and no symbols. So when the player is asked, for example, to type in, what is player one's name? Um, the only thing that they can type in is actual letters, no symbols, no numbers. And then if they do anything with symbols or numbers, it provides an input that says, or a display on the console that says invalid input, please rename your character. Okay, so then the second thing that I did, displayed using an array index 0. So the nice thing about this is, if you remember, I think I had mentioned it in the previous video, where in the first video of the bootcamp trainer, where it was a recap of how the project was coming along. And basically, when you press on game, I think at the time it was called, I can't remember it right now, but at the main menu, when you go to game rules and you type in practice and to see how the game is actually played, and when you type in practice, you can actually see two bots playing with each other. And I had set it up that where bot 1 would be represented as 1 and bot 2 would be represented as 2. So when the game starts, bot 1 would be on the left side of the race on the grid, and then bot 2 would be on the right side of the grid on the race. And that would be the representation of bot 1 and bot 2. Now for players, when you start a new game, you type in your first name, last name, second last name, and all that good stuff, but it only takes the first letter of your the first word, or the first name that you typed in, and that takes that's when calling the array of index 0. That will be used for your grid positioning. If you're player 1, you would be on the left side of the grid. If you're player 2, you'd be on the right side of the grid, using your first letter of the name that you typed in when it prompted you to enter your player's name. Let me see what else. I fixed the game rules, so typing in main menu to make it look a little bit more professional as in the UI, and it asks for the input and it returns back to the console. Basically, I kind of just made it the UI look a little bit more appealing, just because everything was kind of scrunched up into almost a paragraph form. So I ended up doing extra spacing in between the lines just to make it more readable for the user. Like I had mentioned at the beginning of the video, I also did polish up on comments in the code. I did polish up a lot in the game rules. I did a lot of let me see here, naming as well. I changed up a lot of the variables namings that I did, just to make the code more readable. And I also did refactor on some of the functions, just to make everything just more readable for the main thing in the main menu. When you pick I'm going to make a separate option. So right now that currently sits at 5 options: new game, settings, game rules, credits, and exit the game. But I'm going to add an extra option where basically I haven't decided if it's either going to be before credits or after credits, but it's most likely going to be before credits. And let's say, for example, option 4, where credit sits at now, that would be technically option functions lab, where you can actually see, for example, all of the functions that were made that pertain to the game itself, and then from there you could select the function and then see exactly how the code was constructed and all the comments and all that good stuff that made the program work with the CPP, the trainer, or the CPP trainer, and the main CPP, and the trainer.h, the header. I also did start, like I mentioned, I did start making the function lab for a deeper search and a deeper dive into the code patterns and architecture based on the whole text-based game that I've been building. Like I mentioned, I was going at it. I took a break for maybe about, let's say, 45 minutes yesterday. Had dinner, a late dinner, and went back right into it. And that's when I started the functions lab. And I didn't really get into doing the actual the logic for it yet, but just more of the UI and what it's going to look like. But eventually I'll get back into it. Some other things that I still have to do, which I'll write down now, is so we got the bot gameplay set, gameplay set with game rules. Now I have to do the same thing for the players. So players now, and then I haven't decided, just to keep it simple, and because it's a random dice rolling regardless, so it doesn't really, it doesn't make sense for the user to be prompted to type in something for them to make a move. So it's basically, I'm planning on just implementing the same logic that I did for the bot and just have the game run itself. For when it's, the two players running in the track. But I still, like I had mentioned in the previous video, if you missed that video, I'll go ahead and link that video up in the top right. To go back to what I was saying as far as the players, logic being implemented the same as the bots, I think I'm just going to, keep it nice and simple, let the game run itself, and then, with the same logic, decide who the winner is, or keep it as a tiebreaker. Then settings is all set. I may incorporate that to be prompted before new game is even initiated. That way it gives you an idea of, it's setting up the file name and all that good stuff. Name, vsync, frames per second, track name, what you want to name the track name, what you want to name the file name, and then afterwards to give you a build summary of all of the inputs that you typed in, of what basically the background of the game is called. Then game rules is basically all set. I just have to check punctuation, which that will be the last polishing probably later on. Then, like I had mentioned, the functions lab is still currently under development. So let me see here. Functions lab development. Functions lab development, and then credits. I plan to keep the credits very, very simple. Just inspiration that I got from outside sources, to family members, to videos that I saw, music, things of that sort. Basically just, your typical credits from a video game, and, kind of keeping it in some way appealing in a way. I haven't decided on how I'm going to set that up for the UI to be visually appealing, but as time goes on, I will set that up. So let me write that down as well. So credits, and then exit is basically pretty much done. So let me see here, exit, and the way that I had set up the exit to exit the game is basically it tells you, when you're in the main menu, you press 5, which is to exit the game. Then you press enter. And then after that, it says press any key to close program. And after that, basically the program closes. But other than that, the game is coming along. So just a recap of what we need to do. So on the next time we get a chance to code is to let me see here. Implement the player's logic, probably using the same bot logic, and then finish up the functions lab completely, the full development side on it, finish up the credits, and then implement music. That's another thing that I needed to do. Music. I haven't decided on what I want to do as far as the music. Either to figure out a way to have main menu music. So let me write that down before I forget. So main menu music, and then race music. So either have, for example, when you're in the main menu, some sort of sound or music would be playing, and then as soon as the user types in option 1 for a new game, then a new track or a new sound or new audio would play to kind of get the momentum going that it's an actual game, even though it's a very simple text-based UI game. Just to make it a little bit more visually appealing for my portfolio as my phase 1 studies come to a complete, and then moving on to phase 2. So far, we are doing great progress on, what my 2-week outlook was on finishing up this project. But other than that, if you got any questions or think that I should add or take out from this project, definitely drop it in the comments below. And other than that, have a good Tuesday, and I'll see you guys in the next video. You guys have a good one. Take care.